Afternoon. This message is for Reverend Garth Gilliam, the Superintendent of the North District of the United Methodist Church. My name is Dawn. My mom is Virginia Lyon. I'm standing in front of the church that I grew up in at 8 years old. My folks built a house out here, and every Sunday we came here. I was an acolyte, MYF, all those things. I have to relay a horrible story to you that's harmed me mentally, emotionally, and physically. My sister came in when my mom fractured her hip, immediately panicked. My mom, you can check the records at West Hills Hospital, West Hills Rehabilitation Center, and Rooksdale. They will tell you all the medication she was on at the time, when it was taken off, when it wasn't taken off till May. Sandra, under deceit and fraud, had my mom sign a trust, giving everything over to her. Pastor Eric has participated in this. He even shared a conversation I had with him in '96. The appalling part of the conversation, before I found out he shared it with Sandra, is he said, "Your mom's 96. Most people are dead at 96. Think of the appalling indifference. When we moved to the church over on Topanga Canyon. When a water line needed to be replaced, I replaced it. The sign out front, I did. That was my gift to the church. If you go inside the church and you look at all the hymnals and the Bibles, my mom and I jokingly argued over who was going to get who, so we split it in half. If you go in there, you'll see my name and my mom's name on all the new Bibles that were brought to the church. Shameful what your Reverend or Pastor Eric did, because no one would tell me when my mom would die who was the DNR, and Sandra wasn't, and then the day before my mom died she noted a DNR, but she was absent. The night my mom died, my mom died on October 1st, I had a heart attack at 1:30 in the morning. At 4:10 I had another one. My mom passed away at 4 a.m. Pastor, I've got texts to prove this. Pastor Eric wouldn't tell me my mom died, though I found out by Berkeley. They called me because of how great I was there. I went and get my mom spooned her malts that I made, tapioca pudding, mashed potatoes, sponged her lips with water so she was so dehydrated. When my mom died, she was under 80 pounds, emaciated, lacked any mobility at all, wasn't have any cognitive reasoning. How that occurred is through Sandra's negligence. She had the entire house blocked off her. There was only one entry out the back door. Sandra didn't help my mom. She was that frail. She went out the back door, stumbled, fell, fractured her forearm and her wrist, and she died on October 1st. The appalling part about that is I talked to my mom the Tuesday that she fell. She hurt, and I said, "I'm coming over, we're taking you to the hospital." And Sandra in the background hollered, No, you're okay, Mom." Well, she wasn't. On Wednesday, she finally took her to the hospital. And what happened is she had a fractured forearm and wrist. She was so loaded up on drugs again, it was horrible. Sandra has warehoused my mom for 5.5 years. The kitchen is undone because she changed the locks. The major appliances are sitting on the handicap ramp that I hand-built for my mom. The house is a mess where you couldn't get anywhere outside the family room, and that's where my mom slept for 5.5 years, on the couch. I have pictures of all this showing the mess and the disarray of the house. You know when my mom played the piano, because she was in the USO, every day around 3 o'clock I'd come over for over 40 years, which, by the way, Sandra nor Renee ever came home for a holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, you name it. My dad has now been gone 47 years. And the promise I made to my dad is I would take a place to help my mom. And she has interfered with this. Every day of my mom's life should be filled with joy. She filled my mom's life with isolation and misery for over 5 years. My mom, sometimes I finally get a hold of her, and she'd say, "Oh, we just got back from the market." I said, "Oh, you rolled around in the market?" She said, "No, Sandra made me wait in the car." My mom had no exercise. She slept sometimes for days in her pajamas. LAPD has reports of the messiness of the house. Adult Protective Services talked to her and found out she was disoriented, delusional, onset of dementia. And your Reverend Eric, Pastor Eric, participated in this by divulging a private conversation between him and me. I didn't think pastors, priests, rabbis had that rule where you could just talk to whoever you wanted. The worst of it, he wrote the text that I will send to you saying, "We will let you know when the memorial." What does he have anything to do with that? No one cared about my mom for 40 years. Then they come out in a harried state. Sandra to date still hasn't talked to me, and today is October 16th. When's the funeral? Where's my mom? None of this. And your pastor Eric has gone along with this. This is a short story. I'm going to also send you some clips of the agony that my mom went through in the end. Pastor Eric, I don't think, visited her at all, because when I went to church, he says, "Well, I was going to go this week." People in the pews knew, and they said, "But we don't know where she is." So I gave them the address of where she stayed. The worst of it, last Sunday, when I was going to go stop by the church, he told me in that text the night before, "Do not come by any of the sanctuary property." He had armed guards there. Armed guards. I want to remind you, this is a church I grew up in. How can you have someone in a position like that be so callous and indifferent? Your pews now have 10, 12 people in it. It's the message that runs people away. There's no enthusiasm, nothing. But the most morose, horrible thing he did to me was what he did to my mother. He had no right to do that. So I'm sending you this because you need to contact me muy pronto, because if not, I will then say, "Well, you don't care," and I'll have someone else contact you. This is me. This is me. Do I look a little tired? I was in ICU for 4 days, came out and had a reaction again yesterday morning. Whew, it was an emptier. How could you be so cruel? How could the church be so cruel? How could the church take sides in something like this? This is a church I remember. You need to get a hold of me, because if not, like I said, I will have somebody else get a hold of you. My mom and I were the everything to each other. Even in there, comatose, when I sang to her, she smiled. She even sang a little bit of "You Are My Sunshine." And when she talked gibberish, it was German. And people just let her go, and I said, "Mom, just calm down. How about you let me talk to you? And you squeeze my hand, yes or no?" Because what she was doing is, when her lips were going back and forth, bap, 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 she was talking, but it wasn't making sense. And the cruelty of Sandra, look what she did. In 5.5 years, my mom was never able to play her piano in the living room because it was so blocked off with crud and stuff you couldn't get to it. And that was something my mom and I did 3 times a week or so. At around 3 in the afternoon, she loved to play. Just importantly, when she was at Brooksdale, I said, "Mom, why aren't you going down and playing the piano?" And she says, "I didn't even think of that." And I said, "Mom, get down there." She wound up going down, playing the piano sometimes till 10, 11 o'clock at night. They had pizzas coming down here. And you know what? When they found out that she was on the USO during World War II, she's now on the poster, on the mural of all the World War II vets. Think of that. Sandra sure didn't.